Hello, my name is David Dickson. I've been attending Zion Church over the year for the last 20 years off and on, and I wanted to share a little bit about why I like coming to Zion.
How did you come to Zion initially?
I taught school at Lower Dolphin, and one of my colleagues was Stacy Gass, and when she heard I was getting married and moving to Myerstown, she told me about the church that she grew up as a child, and she recommended me going there. And so my wife and I went there. That was 2005, and we met her mother and father, and we met a few people that came right out. And one that comes to mind is Janet Snyder, who's just one of the pillars of this church, I think.
And what do you like about Zion Church?
There are so many activities if you are looking for just about anything. They have women who make mats for the homeless. They go on mission trips. There's all kinds of Bible studies. The feeling of Christ is very evident in the church when you're there in the presence of all these people. Truly are some amazing. I always feel kind of inferior. So many knowledgeable biblical scholars, I would call them, in this church. Fantastic people.
Well, tell us a little bit about the people who have impacted you since you've been here.
Well, I would say Janet Snyder is certainly one of them, and her sister Ruth Rudy were very special to me. I got a chance to know Grace Marquette just a little bit near the end of her life, and I felt very blessed for that to happen. Your organist, David Shell, I think is second to none, the best, whether he's on the organ or piano, and we've become friends. And of course, some of the pastors that we've had in the past, and I feel a special connection with Pastor Keith.
Well, tell us about your experience at the Sunday school class.
So, growing up, I did not like Sunday school at all. My father was a minister, and I had to go to Sunday school in addition to church. I always liked going to church, but I never liked Sunday school. And Janet Snyder and Ruth Rudy continually asked me to go to Sunday school, and I kept putting it off, maybe another time. And right towards the end of Grace Marquette's life, she was sitting where I was sitting in the pews, and I knew she was going there, and I wanted to know more about her. Sometimes I'm just fascinated with some of these people have so many life experiences. So I decided to go there, I would say rather reluctantly, and I really, really liked it. For the longest time, I just sat there. I didn't say anything. I was so impressed with all these other people. I felt very inferior, biblical knowledge-wise. But over time, I've kind of come out of my shell. And Craig Whitley and sometimes David Wise are the two teachers, and both of them are terrific. I always enjoy the experience. And I'm very glad I finally listened to Janet and came.
Well, tell us about your experience when you're in the sanctuary, when you're worshiping the Lord.
Yeah. If you come in when it's really sunny outside and you look over at the stained glass windows, you just feel the presence of God. They're so beautiful. I love stained glass windows, but these are really phenomenal. And I am kind of a stick in the mud about certain things. I just sit always in the same spot, and I think of it as my neighborhood of people. So I know everybody around me, and everybody's very friendly, and I enjoy that an awful lot. People like Janie Tignanelli and Joyce Renrick and Tony and Christine Prim and Ken and Joanne Baker, and of course Louise Ghetto, another major pillar of this church, and so many others. And I love listening to the organ from David. And the music is very important to me. And one of the reasons I sit in the front is so I can hear the congregation singing. If you sit in the back, you can't hear it. and we have so many beautiful voices. I'm not one of them anymore. I used to have a good voice, not anymore. And you can just feel, especially in certain hymns, I mean, it just goes right through you. It is so beautiful and inspiring. And the music of the various choirs. Barb Kristen leads the adult choir, and there's so many beautiful voices. It's just always wonderful. And there's a bell choir I really enjoy. But my favorite, I think, is the children's choir. When I see those children, it reminds me of when I was young and pure and innocent, didn't know the evils of the world. And, excuse me, I just feel that I look at them like they're the future of the church, and I hope it continues that they become Christian leaders in this church or another church, but they are just so adorable. Maybe I shouldn't mention his name, but years ago, Wesley Dahl, who is an actual neighbor of mine, he always wore a bow tie, and he always sung so enthusiastically. He couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. Every note was off. But it was so enjoyable. I love listening to him sing because it was from the heart. It doesn't matter if you're not singing perfectly. And the children's choir is my favorite by far. And Barb Kristen again is the leader, and she's the reason behind that. So yeah.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about how you've grown since you've been a part of the church?
Excuse me one second. When I sit in the church, especially when you are preaching, the other preachers too, but you're the one who preaches most of the time, you are so enthusiastic about the Bible and what it says about how we are supposed to live. And there's two things that I'm very amazed about you, because my father was a great minister himself, but he had it written down. My mother would type up his sermon, and it was essentially read, word for word on the page. It's very good. It's very intellectual. But you don't do that. So that's the first thing I find fascinating, that you can give a sermon and just go on and on and on, and it's wonderful. And you don't have to read notes or anything, which is a very difficult skill. Not a lot of people can do that. And the other thing is just a little trivia. I cannot figure out. I've been watching you. I can't figure out how you can find a thing in the Bible. You go, back in such and such, and there it is. And this one, and here it is. I can't do that. I have to have bookmarks over the place. So I just really love listening to you. And I know that feeling is shared by an awful lot, if not all, the congregation. We just love you.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And if somebody would be looking for a new church, and they're searching for the right place, what would you say to them? How would you describe this church?
The thing, now I'm more of a traditional service, so I'm not very comfortable in the other the modern service, but we have both. So right off the bat, if you don't like the traditional singing from the hymn book, traditional song, instead you like more of a contemporary Christian music with a band. We have a very talented musicians. They're wonderful. I've heard them many times. So that alone, some people will not go to a church because they like contemporary, or they don't want to go because they only want traditional. Well, we have both. So that in itself is a big plus. And the fact is, I'm sure there's some people in the church that aren't as friendly as others, but most people in the church, it's been my experience, are very friendly, very outgoing. I'm not quite comfortable enough Now, there's a lot of hugging. I'm not that comfortable hugging each other for the most part, but I mean, it's a very loving church. People, it's amazing the love that they have for each other and they have for Christ.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing a
Well,
little bit about your
Thank
experience.
you for having me.
And God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor.